Oh, what's up, jobbers, and welcome to the latest edition of the Jobber Knocker podcast. It's always Nestlemania, and alongside for the ride is a man that would totally throw me through a wall, spear me right into another dimension, JC.
I've missed that Nestlemania. I've missed remember Braun when they first had him going, him and Roman killing each other in the back. This is what I've been waiting for, and this meet is all I could ever hope for.
When I saw that, I mean, we can talk about anything, but I mean, this was shine. So we can start there if you prefer.
Always in the shine. Fucking two meaty men beating the shit out of each other across the arena through a wall, just like. You knew this was going to be chaos, and I'm excited for however they book them next because these two deserve it. These two are studs. These two are entertaining. These two get it. These two are fucking nimble on their feet for big boys, and it's just like this is why I love WWE. Like when people ask me, if they ask me why I watch it, I would just point to this and be like, how can you not have fun doing this?
The minute I watched this, so I didn't watch it live, obviously, so I was watching it, a little bit behind, but all I kept thinking about was I tried to stay off Twitter because I know Twitter will show me the best clips and everything, and I'm just like, oh, okay, great. But then, I ended up seeing one thing, and I'm just like, this is great. And then, another thing happened as I was watching, and I was just like, this is great. And then they fucking go back, and he tips the golf cart, and I'm like, this is great. And then he puts them randomly, that he gets put through a table, which you can barely see. They get up.
By the way, he launched a virgin. Bronson launched a virgin at Braun. I don't think we've ever seen that. You're just you're looking at Braun doing his little huffy puffy run, and all of a sudden this flying V comes flying at him, literal V, and hits him. And then so you realize Bronson traps someone from the crowd and yeet.
I just loved every second of this. I just couldn't believe how much fun this was. I try not to hyperbolize here on the program, hyperbilly, but I think this might be an all-timer for me. I had so much fun. I had a lot of fun watching this. If you watch one thing this week, not AEW, not TNA, not Ring of Honor, you watch one thing this week, go back and watch Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, because honestly, it's just fucking fun. And if you hate fun, I know I've been accused of not being fun, but I enjoyed this an awful lot. And if somebody like me with a stick up my ass can enjoy this, I think you can too.
I was thinking about tonight. I was like, because I don't know if you saw the clip of McAfee and Saban on game day where they had the big T-bone steak, and he literally joked fed him, and Saban actually took a bite. I was like, man, I got to start putting freaking just big meat things and just eat them on the podcast, because God, this stuff is just so good.
I don't understand. This wasn't wrestling, right? There wasn't even a match, right?
No, it was just a fight,
right? But that's the thing we keep talking about is when it's fun, you forget. Oh, I didn't get what I wanted, because it was still satiating something there, right? Who cared if they did a lot? And the other thing too is they started off the match with breaking the top rope. They just started off hot. Yeah, it was just instantly. It was unbelievable. It was unreal how many things happened in this matchup that didn't exist. It was just kind of like a thing. And I was just like, I want more of this. It doesn't have to be those two in particular, but if it would certainly help. But man, the non-wrestling things really lead to better things, in my opinion. And you can, and I hate to harp on AEW, but it's just just watch this thing and duplicate this, and I'll be more interested in half the program if you do that.
They don't have any fucking meat eaters that can handle this type of stuff right now, unfortunately. When you get Wardlow and Hobbs healthy and stuff, maybe, but it's just right now, and who knows how long those guys stick around there, because it's just those guys don't get maximized there. I mean, they got that 7-foot dude, Satnam, whatever, but they make him a commentator. They got some people, but it's just it's just not going to be. We're in the Shine Nestlemania. We don't talk AEW. We could talk about meat all night too, but we're going to move on to, I thought this was a great week of wrestling. I had 4 different things that I really loved, and one was the meat match we just talked about. But then there were 3 other matches that I really enjoyed. Would you like to guess what they are?
I'm going to go off the board here and say one was obviously Melo Andrade, because why can they have a bad match? Another one I would say was my personal favorite. The amount of fire emojis I put in this tweet weren't enough. Was Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. I was just you get reminded. And Io won, which was the best part of this entire thing, because I was just sitting there going, okay, Bianca's going to win, flip my hair, whatever, it's great. But then she fucking lost, and I jumped up. I was like, yeah, all right, because That's what I want. I want somebody to be on Bianca's level. I don't want Bianca coming down. And I felt like this matchup was so much fun to watch. And you get reminded sometimes, like, these women can really fucking go. Not
Talked
just
about
like
it last week with Bianca. I said in that tag match, I was blown away. But do you remember these two, their feud in NXT? Because this is when you started to see the glimpses of what Bianca could be. Was her feud with Io? That was when Bianca herself started to ascend. But just getting in the ring with a literal like genius like Io. I think they even had Io. I don't remember. It was a steel cage match with her or with Candice. I can't remember, but I just like Io and Bianca had a fantastic rivalry. I remember that was when I realized like Bianca's going to be the top of this. And a big part of it was because she found chemistry with Io, and I think it gave her confidence. So the fact that they ran this back, it was mwah.
And honestly, that's exactly what we need. We need more people to be on their level. And I think that's important because you can have the tropes of like, oh, okay, Jade just beats people and Bianca beats people, and then they beat them together and whatever. And that's just tiresome. But now I'm like, okay, Damage Control is Kyrie and Io. Fine, sign me the fuck up because now I believe it, right? And I think that's the thing I'm gonna go across board when I'm watching wrestling is like believability, right? Like Andrade and Carmelo do a great job, right? Like I'll even go out on a limb and say this wasn't even their best match, but it was still fucking good,
still incredible,
right? Like. It doesn't matter. It was still better than 90% of shit you see. It was unreal, right? And then I don't know if this is a you thing, but it was a me thing. So we might have a 5 instead of 4 matches here. But Sheamus versus Pete Dunne.
I thought that was good. It wasn't my 4th, but
okay,
I did. And I think it was important. I think I saw you tweet it too about Butch getting the win there. Yeah, I'm going to call you Butch, bitch. That was the part that I actually loved the most of it, was you could tell the minute Sheamus did that backstage saying, I'm like, okay, they want like some sort of Butch chance because it's going to like continue to make Pete Dunne crazy. And I think it gets him more heat. And I think the most important thing with him is it'll guarantee that he will get a reaction. Because look we think Pete Dunne's great. He's always been great. But it's one of those things like he's sometimes a guy that goes out there. He's not always the most polarizing type figure that's going to get a reaction out of you. So, yeah, he can do the dastardly things. And as he wrestles, he'll get a reaction. But by doing something simple like this, giving the crowd, the minute they see him, to associate him with the chant, I think will do tons and tons for this guy going forward. And, yeah, this was a banner, but it wasn't my 4th. But I'm glad you brought it up because it was a good match.
What was your 4th then? I don't know.
Putting a steel cage match is one of my.
Ew! You are putting a steel cage match?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
I'll say this.
It's because you're a code breaker.
No, because this is 4th out of those 4. But I loved this. Obviously, there are parts that like brought it down for me, which stopped it from being like an all-timer in terms of steel cage for me, was the amount of times it just try to crawl out the door. That's a minute that it's just like that. That's why I hate it. That's why that just immediately takes me out of it. But like, I always, when I go into steel cage matches, I expect them to suck because I fucking hate them. But every now and then you get one like this where I'm like, okay, they're maximizing the cage. They're doing different things. They're doing like philosophical things that make sense. And obviously, like there's like, I mean, I think Solo's still doing great work as a heel. Like he does a lot of little things that I feel like people don't give him credit for because it's just so easy to go against him because it's like, oh, he's not Roman Reigns. It's like, no shit, he's not Roman Reigns. Nobody's fucking Roman Reigns. But like, I do think like he has elevated himself. It's hard because you're going to compare him to Roman, but I enjoyed this. I didn't expect to. I thought it was like, oh, it's just going to be a whatever thing. I'm assuming something will come out, but yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought it was physical. And then, I mean, some of the stuff that happened after, I don't know how I feel about it yet, but in terms of the match, I thought it was a good match and it was good for like the debut segment for USA here.
I'm going to end there politely. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't, because like I said, what came after, I don't know how I feel.
We're going to save that for a different segment, in my opinion. That's just me.
So you want to get to promos now? Segments?
Sure, let's do it.
Braun Breaker and Jey Uso. I thought Braun Breaker in this promo. I mean, I'll say this. Braun Breaker has become one of the best promo guys on the main roster. Might be a hot take, but when I watch him, obviously it's believable, but it just like, I think about how his promos used to be and I watch him now and I'm like, his pacing is very, very good. And everything he's saying is intelligent. It's thought out and it makes sense, but it just like his pacing blows me away because it's not one of those things like he's not getting super animated like he easily could. He's not relying on being like, I'm Braun Breaker. It's just like he's literally talking, but it's like I'm listening to what he's saying because I want to listen. And a lot of times when guys do that, it's like, they go on too long, but Braun, he's succinct. He says exactly what it needs to be. I thought he did a great job just being like, yo, bro, you've been doing this shit for 14 years. I fucking came in. I'm already doing it better than you. I already got way more gold than you. And I'm like, he's right. He's 100% right. And then Jay, and then I'm watching him do the promo. And he's just all like, oh, goofy Jay. And he tries the football line. And I'm like, okay. It's like, ooh, that's a big insult. No, it's not. Braun literally, he didn't make a football team, but then he came to your sport and fucking dominated it. So if anything, it makes you look worse. But it was the low-hanging fruit. And I was like, man, did Braun Breaker just go circles around Jey Uso? I think he did.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still just not acknowledging, no pun intended, the fact that Braun Breaker is just special. You don't even have to like him to acknowledge it. It's just a foregone conclusion. As long as he keeps himself out of trouble, which I assume he would. He seems like he's got his head on his shoulders, just straight. But you look at that and you're just like, that dude understands the responsibility. He's an eloquent speaker. He's a convincing human being, and he's just an ass kicker. He's a badass. So even when he just throws out that dog line, it's just like, you're not supposed to. Yeah, it's just like, of course, who doesn't want to bark, as we said on this program. But no, it's just it's fascinating to me because I feel like it's like a broken record, but people need to really wake up and smell the roses. He's the next guy. There's no other person. You could, as much as you love Cody, great, right? Cody's the bridge probably to get to when Breaker's ready. Cody will be the next 3 to 5 years.
A fucking bridge, bro. That's a pretty fucking big bridge. The dude who's smashing all the records in terms of everything. Yeah.
Well, there's still Roman Reigns, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, they got the 2 pillars, and that's why I don't know how I feel about the match, but we'll get to that. But it's just Braun is the future. It is without a doubt. We saw him pop up on our screen. We knew this kid's going to be special. He was so fucking raw. And people are just so quick to dismiss when they see something. And I'm like, I personally love it in NXT because I'm like, we get to watch these special talents get better. But other people look at it as like, oh man, they suck. I'm like, oh, the dude who's wrestled 4 matches isn't good yet? Color me shocked. I mean, that's what makes Obafemi more amazing, speaking of meat. But it's just even Braun's early matches, you saw glimpses. You saw it. And then all of a sudden, a year in NXT, you're like, this guy's fucking out wrestling Dolph Ziggler right now. And now look at him. He's fucking stud.
So yeah, basically get in or get out. That's really what it comes down to when it comes to Braun Breaker. Bertsky says he barks sometimes. And unfortunately,
timeline.
Unfortunately, the Joe Stopper says he has to meow sometimes. he has a cat. Big ups to Georgia. Anyway, let's moving on. What's the next thing you want to talk about here?
New Day Rocks. There. Going bye-bye. Thank you, Karrion Kross. Xavier Woods' character work right now is fucking unparalleled. What he has done the last couple weeks, and this week in particular, if people want to know how to make fucking good TV, watch this motherfucker because he just gets it. He's so good. The emotions, the roller coaster that he went through this week, starting with the backstage stuff, being like, hey guys, whatever, don't get involved, with Jay, Damian, and then to have the match play out how it did, his just being so upset with Kofi when the LWO ran out and that cost them the match. But then the backstage promo after where he confronted them. Dude, this stuff's good. And he's ready, Nestle. He is ready. Xavier Woods, never probably going to be a world champion. But a fun singles run, especially as a heel, this guy deserves it. Mid-card title, something like that. It just he can do it. I mean, there's no doubt he can do it in the ring. And you obviously see the character, yeah, he's good, but it's I'm looking for the believability. And just watching this, I'm like, I believe he can do anything now. And I want to see it. I want to see him mutilate Kofi Kingston. I want to see him get physical with Big E when they do this 10-year segment. But man, the stuff this week, thank you, Karrion Kross. Thank you.
One Guthrie's gonna think that you're
Karrion Kross is the gimmick changer, so
we'll leave it at that. And the one thing that crossed my mind, I was gonna use it as my hope, kind of, but then I'm gonna bring this out here because it's more of a discussional piece than it is me just coming up with a hope. Is it weird, to think that the way that they might think about this is oh, Woods we may not turn him heel. What we'll do instead is turn the entire New Day heel. Like, because I was thinking about it as I was watching. I'm like, we want him to turn.
Biggie ain't gonna be a heel, especially when he's not wrestling.
No, but I mean, like Kofi Kingston, I've never really seen him be a heel, with the exception of the New Day when they started. But like, it was still comedy
He's
stuff.
too fucking positive.
Okay, all right. It was something in my brain. Like, would you want to see the New Day as heels, or would you rather?
No,
just,
I want to see Xavier Woods as a heel because it's one of those things. Like he doesn't have to be like a dastardly heel. It's just like what has made Drew McIntyre so compelling is he's done some bad shit, but in his own mind, he is the good guy. And the insane villain, you see it in movies and TV shows and books and all this stuff all the time. Like the insane villain the reason why they're a villain is because they are just so narrow-minded that they see themselves as the victim, as the good guy, as the pariah, as the messiah, as all these things. It's like Xavier Woods can do that type of stuff. He can do that Drew McIntyre type run and make it super compelling. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here because in his mind, he feels like he's getting screwed and like maybe he's partially right. Maybe he's not fully right. But either way, it's just like it's compelling television because I think those are the best type of villains to use in a story.
Well said. Well said. I hope he's something special, but we'll see. We will see. Anything else you want to talk about? You didn't talk about your buddy Phil.
Here's the thing. Because this wasn't heat for me. Because again, I'm never gonna say a CM Punk promo is really heat because it's always good. But I watched this and like it's one of those things like I believe that he believes it. And I'm glad he said the thing about like how he's willing to like die because it's like when I look at old man CM Punk, who I love, this is my favorite version of CM Punk. I love it. And then I look at that fucking massive fucking Scotsman who is gassed to the fucking gills, fucking 6 foot a million compared to little fucking flabby old and gray CM Punk. I'm like, I just like CM Punk has to use weapons because it is not believable that he can beat this man up. That's why the strap match works so well because he like used the psychology against him and then brought his physical at the end. Because look, obviously it's wrestling. You always do that a little bit, but it's just like when I'm seeing CM Punk saying all this stuff, I'm just like, man, you're gonna get the shit kicked out of you and probably get injured again. But it's like the nice thing about Hell in a Cell is it can be an equalizer because there's weapons. You can use the cage. You can have Drew make mistakes. But it's just like that. When I'm listening to this promo, I'm just like, man, I don't believe that you can beat him up. And that's why I was glad that he kind of said like he kind of like got to that as well. Because I'm like, Drew McIntyre's huge. He's in his fucking prime. He's a fucking killer. And like I said, CM Punk is just old and gray. Again, I love him, but it's just like, it's not a fucking fair fight at all.
I will say I actually enjoyed this promo because he wasn't screamy wrestling guy. Like, I'm gonna see you at the Worcester Centrum and I'm gonna fucking kick your ass. Like that didn't happen. It was like he was talking very slowly. He was talking methodically. He didn't raise his voice really. He seemed pretty somber about it. He brought up his wife and his daughters, his wife and his sister about telling him not to do it. And he goes, I don't have any more matches I have left. And I got a lot more left in the tank, all that shit. And I was just like, okay, this is cool. But then like, here's the thing. This is the one thing I always, and he kind of addressed it. So I guess in theory, I'll give him a positive check mark next to it. But there's always that thing where like, every once in a while when I hear in a wrestling promo, you're going to have to kill me. And I'm like, all right, well, it's fucking wrestling, guys. Like, we know no one's going to die on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one's going to get stabbed. No one's going to, well, somebody on AEW might get stabbed. Who knows? But like, when I hear that stuff, I'm just like, but he did a good job recovering, being like, I'm not going to make any promises I can't keep. And I'm like, thank you.
But he did promise he can make him bleed, and that is a promise I think he can pull off.
Right. And I think that's fine. Right. Like, and if this doesn't main event the pay-per-view, like, what the fuck? Like, if there was ever a time.
I thought it would main event the pay-per-view, but then they fucking made a Mega Powers tag team match with the two biggest stars in the industry, not even close, like fucking 1A and 1B, and then there's a huge gap to fucking number 2 of about a fucking 30 mountains. It's just like, I guess you try to have that kick off the show. We're going to talk about that match because that's an interesting position they put themselves in. But it's just like, it's hard for me not to see Cody and Roman going on to last. Like, but I mean, you're right. This is what we've been waiting for. When this feud started, We envisioned a Hell in a Cell finish for these two, and I think they over-delivered in terms of like what my expectations were for how good this feud could be. Because like I said, like I was just very critical of that, but I'm like, it hasn't mattered because it's been so good, and they've done good jobs of having them like do it. But like now we're getting to the finale, and I'm curious. Like we'll get to it when we predict for this match, but I'm assuming that CM Punk will win because the babyface usually always has to, get the exclamation point at the end. But who knows?
Joe's wife said when he said, "I'm prepared to die," she just yelled at the TV screen, "No, you're not." So if a passing casual will say that, I seem to think Fragile Phil might have an issue or two, but it is what it is. Anything else you want, or do you want to get heaty?
We can get heaty.
All right, get him off my TV. Get him off my TV. Get him off my TV now. Since we brought it up and we teased it, we tickled it a little bit. I'm gonna just bring it up here. Yeah, tickle the balls. And so, you knew the OTC was going to come out and save the day. He had that cold stare when he closed the door. I thought that was pretty badass when he started like whatever. Mm-hmm. And then that whole thing happened and it is what it is. And then there's a backstage promo where it's like Cody says, "I'm done with the bloodline." And I'm like, okay, I like where this is headed. I'm okay with it. I like where this is headed, right? And then something happens along the way where Roman's like, "I'll address the crowd." And I'm like, okay, maybe we're getting The Rock. Maybe we're getting something cool. Jimmy might come back or whatever.
Yeah, no.
And so
this is too obvious to me.
And so Cody comes out and I don't understand this. And I'm sure someone smarter than me can explain this or make me believe it. But when I'm watching this, I just felt like this was a character assassination point for Cody in this particular moment. Like, it's not like he's dead forever. I just felt like it went back on everything he was. When I was watching this, I kept thinking to myself, I don't believe this. And like the fact that they're together after he straight up said like an hour before that he was not going to be part of the bloodline. Like, to me, there wasn't what I thought was lazy and clunky was there wasn't a definitive reason for him to sign the contract, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I feel the same. I had a lot of problems with this. One, I thought the writing just wasn't good. From the second that match ended, it just like I think it was very poorly done. And like, yeah, you're right. In the backstage segment, Cody said, I'm done with the bloodline. I'm not teaming with Roman Reigns. And that should have been it. That should have been it for Cody on SmackDown that night. And then later it comes out when Roman's in the ring. Also, the little side nugget, I hate. This is the first segment we heard Roman talk. Because I was excited for that first time Roman actually talked into a mic and like said, like did a real promo. I was looking forward to that. And I thought they fucking blew that with this fucking shitty segment they did to end the show. But he in that promo said, I don't want to team with Cody Rhodes. Whatever. Like, I don't really and he said that too. And then literally all it took was fucking Tonga 1 and Tonga 2 to attack. And they're both ready to fucking scribble their names on. No, it just, my problem was, it's like, the minute that they did the thing, I'm like, okay, they're going to obviously tag together. But it was like, you don't need to pay it off tonight. That was the biggest issue with it. It was like, I don't like it to begin with because we'll talk about it in a second, but who the fuck eats a pin in this match? But it's just like, the issue for me is like, they didn't let it breathe. And it cheapens it. And that's why I think you're getting, like, you have the take, like the character assassination. Like, you can't disagree with that because when you do something this quickly, you didn't give it time to breathe. If you do this segment next week, like in somehow where Cody comes to his aid because he feels bad, like maybe you do a thing and Roman goes out there to address it and he's like, I'm going to fight them alone and whatever because I just want to get my hands on them. And then it's all four of them beating them down and they do some cutaways of Cody in the back kind of looking and just kind of like feeling bad because he's fucking Superman. Like he's your superhero. You should treat him like a superhero. And then out he comes in his cape and he makes the save and then they do like a thing like that would have felt fine. I still I don't want this match, but like that's how you do this because you let it breathe, you put in some doubt, and you don't make Cody look like a bad guy. This was poorly written, it was poorly executed, it was rushed, and it was bad. And like it just like I fucking like a tag match. It's like, yeah, it's cool because these are like two of the top heels, especially like a guy that we really want to see more of, especially get involved with like your two biggest baby faces in the company. But it's like I said earlier, Nestlemania. Who the fuck eats a pin in this match?
It's going to get thrown out. That's the only thing I can think of. And that's why it won't main event, would be my thought. The only way you make it not main event is you throw it out. There'll be a fucking schmaz.
Or the bloodline cheats to win, but it's like who again, like who you pinning, Cody or Roman. Like either way, like I don't love either option, but it's just like it's just if there is that the next Tonga or whatever the fuck he's called coming, maybe he shows up and
Tala. Maybe
he joins the new bloodline and they have 5 against 2, or just I don't know, man. This to me, like, it was just so brutal because it's like your debut thing. And I was just like, this didn't feel like a Triple H thing because he doesn't rush shit like this. So that made me ask a lot more questions. Like, why are they rushing?
I think I have something that I think makes sense. Okay. And if it is Triple H, you can't bet 1,000. Clearly he's going to fuck it up at some point. The one thing I thought about afterwards, as I was sitting there kind of steaming mad at the end of Smackdown, I was just like, this is fucking dog shit. In my opinion, it was dog shit.
It was horrible.
And so all I kept thinking about was, you know what I think it might be? This is the part that I think it's so good to get to this point that I'm going to make that they're okay with making this mistake. Think about what happens leading up to Bad Blood or even after Bad Blood, because what you're going to do is you're going to have the Kevin Owens, the Randy Ortons of the world, and especially, this is the one with the cherry on top for me, the Seth Rollins of the world, when they come back and go, dude, like, we all put our bodies on the line so you could beat this guy, and now you're fucking teaming up with him? What the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you? Let him deal with his own shit.
It does set up a Randy Orton turn. It sets up a KO turn. You're 100% right.
So I think that's why, you get more money. Congratulations.
I didn't think I was going to win that. And the guy got to finish out of nowhere. So
cha-ching. By the way, the UFC event in Las Vegas. Wow, that was special.
Dude, I've had the pleasure of being in this.
I want a wrestling event, and they're so bad. You have no
idea. It is. It's the only tough part of the wrestling event is that you'll have to deal with just like an NXT type crowd because there just isn't enough room.
Yeah.
Like whatever, but it just like the visuals they can do. Oh, it'll be so good. I mean, that was fucking orgasmic. You're right. I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't want to bring it up at some point because it was visually stimulating.
Absolutely. I thought they were actually in Mexico when I was looking at the shit. I was like, that's fucking cool. Really fucking cool. But no, I think that's where they're headed. They're like, oh, we can bank on those 3 feuds with Cody revisited because of this one little thing that's happening. And I'm just like, man, what a clunky thing they're doing just because they know on the backside of it, it'll work, which is, it's almost like too confident. And you kind of want to see it fall on its face a little bit just to be like, no, fuck you. You got it wrong. We're fans. We tell you when it's wrong.
Yeah. The problem is Cody and Roman are just so fucking bulletproof right now. Like they're just like, it's gonna take a lot because right now it just, I mean, you go to any show, it's like those are the 2. Like you put one of those guys in an arena and you're fucking selling out instantly. Like that's just like we're gonna look back at this era and we really are. Like I know Triple H just said it's like promote, but it's like we really are in a special era, and these 2 guys are the biggest reason why. And it's really cool. And there's obviously a lot of players with them that are holding it up because of the depth, but it's just like. So yeah, I don't know. But the tag match, like I
don't know.
Because you're right. Then with who's the guy they signed? Zilla, what's his name?
Zilla Fatu. They
signed him, so that gives Solo's side 5, which could potentially set up Roman, the Usos, Sammy, and I guess they need a 5th too.
Probably Cody.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be terrible?
Cody with the OG bloodline versus the new blood. I don't mind that as if they're doing 5-on-5 for War Games, if that's what they do. Like, I don't mind that because I think even more, that's when you really get like Randy and KO being like, what the fuck, dude? And like you said, down the line, Seth. So
right.
I think it'd be more effective because it's literally like, oh my God, Cody, you're literally teaming with our worst enemy.
Yeah. The same people who made everybody's life miserable. So I think that's where they're going with it.
And point.
It's tough.
This was just bad. Like I think if they spaced it out a week or 2, we wouldn't be as complaining because that's the beauty of what Triple H has mostly done. It's just he lets shit breathe. Nothing feels rushed. It's not like the immediate like fast food fan, as Roman Reigns has alluded to. It's like they let stuff breathe so we have time to digest and think. That's what's the cool part of storytelling is it gives you time in your head to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that you thought was pretty heaty? Because I can think of some stuff, but
yeah, let's start ripping through shit.
All right, here we go. I'll just go from top to bottom from SmackDown. Triple H comes out and does his fucking spiel, which I always hate that shit when him and other people be like, "Oh, God, I SmackDown." Just let's just fucking go. Let's get into it. I just feel
The
like
crowd always pops for it.
no,
So
I don't know. They love
I
it.
could
But
care about it, but
it is what it is. Moving on, we get to a backstage segment with Nick Aldis, and it's a whole thing. Like, I just feel like the one thing, this is the thing that makes me, this is where everybody that knows me is going to go, you got to be fucking kidding me. But for some reason this week when I was watching SmackDown, it fucking dawned on me like this, right? Like, Nick Aldis runs a tight ship. Nothing ever goes wrong on SmackDown, right? And yet to me, it seems like a fucking boring show. Adam Pearce can't fucking get anything together, and the fucking thing is chaos, and I love it. It's just like Adam
chaos
Pearce
is a ladder, man. It just leads to greatness.
when I'm looking at it, I just kept thinking to myself, Nick Aldis is doing a fantastic job, but the show is boring because of that actual kind of relationship. And then you go to Raw, and I'm just like, this guy can't fucking stop anybody from doing anything. And it's the best show we were watching, with the exception of NXT. But I mean, like, it's fucking great. And I'm just like, I've been an Adam Pearce hater for a while, but I kept thinking to myself, the ingredients just make sense.
Adam Pearce is good. Like, he works as an authority figure because, like, he's believable enough, but he also doesn't have control, which is like what, like, because, like, you're right, Nick Aldis has too much, like, he's too good. It's just like Adam Pearce allows for the bullshit, and we love the bullshit.
Right. Exactly. So it's just bizarre to me because I feel like it's killing the momentum of SmackDown sometimes, where everything's not falling apart, and I kind of want it to just chill because it's wrestling. You want shit to fucking fall apart, right? Yeah. And Joe makes a great point. Wrestling fans crave uncertainty. That's a great point, Joe. It really is, because
it gives you a reason to keep watching.
Right, because if you can call it, like, then what's the point of tuning in, right? So I totally understand. Nia Jax turns into a promo or something about Bayley wanting a title shot if he comes out. It's a weird fucking kind of match.
I mean, it's how they're kicking Bayley to Raw.
I'll even go further. You ready for this one?
I saw your thing, but I have there's an issue with it.
Okay, that's fine. But I think
it only applies to Bayley and Naomi. It doesn't apply to Tiffy and Nia.
Okay.
The stipulation, yeah, because that's the stipulation. Because if they win, they get to fight for a title shot. But if they lose, what Nia gets out of it is whoever gets pinned is off her show.
I just feel like
I see a thing. I'm like, it's still interesting, but it's like the money is Tiffy cashing in on Nia.
Right. No, I understand that, but all I kept thinking about was what a great way to get Tiffy on the same show as her beau, and also we forget it, and like that'd be great. I think that'd be so much more interesting, but I know that it's not going to happen.
I think it's just how it's, and who knows, maybe they want to get Naomi to Raw, but it feels like it just feels like there'd be more fresher things for Billy to do on Raw, because at SmackDown, she's already wrestled Nia and Tiffy so much, so it's just like,
do you feel like this is slightly a panic here too, because like there's like trios aplenty on Monday Night Raw for women? They're like, let's just put Bayley back together with Damage Control.
No, they won't do that, even though it's funny, they are baby faces now.
Right.
It would lead to some interesting like segments, like if they do that, because they always get the thing like, but they're both baby faces, so they might actually be on the same side, but they don't trust each other. Like that stuff's always interesting, like Joe said, because it's uncertainty. But no, I don't see that.
Okay, that's fine. Moving along. You know what I thought was really just kind of, and Ray's gonna shit on this for me, but I don't give a shit. But every single time Jey Uso is on my like he had like several segments. It felt like he was in 14 segments here, probably more like 6 or 7. But all I kept thinking about was, yes, he's a star. Yes, he's doing all this stuff. But like watching the Judgment Day or non-Judgment Day, the Terror Twins with Jey Uso, just something about it just feels inauthentic. Is probably the best way to say it. It just feels like it's somebody's not doing their job and making me believe. And I don't know what, I can't really verbalize it more than that. But when I'm watching it, I'm like the Finn stuff was fine. Like I told Dom to stick with Liv and not you because you're a hoser and all that shit. Like I thought that was fine. But every time he came up on screen, I'm like, Jey Uso does not need to be part of this. Like he does, in my opinion, he doesn't bring anything extra.
It's forced in because the internet just has this thing about him and Rhea. But it's just like, I'd like him to focus with Braun. And I think that's part of the storyline, is that's how they're going to play it, as him losing another match, is because he wasn't focused on Braun, and Braun's going to fucking spear him into oblivion. But it's just like, Jey Uso's he's a very entertaining guy. He has an incredible entrance. He's an awesome veteran. He's fun. It's fun to say. It's fun going like this. He's a good enough wrestler, but it's like at the end of the day for me, and again, I feel bad doing this. I know people love Jay, so until he's back with Jimmy, I just don't give a fuck because they haven't sold me anything as a single star. Like besides his brother, who's this motherfucker beat? He loses every match he's in. So it's just like, oh, he gets another title shot. Great. Easy dub for Braun. But it's just like they're because they're already setting it up because he's distracted because he's helping this. But it's like, oh my God, I'm over it, man. I'm very over it. And I think it's just time, man. Go back to Roman's side. Put up the one, baby, with your bro. Let's do it.
You know what I think they're going to do because they love merchandise? They're going to end up all still looking like individuals, but like having a themed, you know what I mean? Like
I think they should. I don't think they should just like morph into the bloodline. I think they should come together as individuals who are blood. And but like Jey Uso should still be yeeting. Jimmy can yeet alongside him because I think that's how we build the tag team. But like Roman and Jay should still be separate brands. And if Sammy joins in, Sammy should still be the Sami Zayn brand. So
that's fine. It's interesting to me. Something else I wanted to bring up. There was a really quick segment with Braun and the Miz about what do you mean? What do you mean I'm not capable of or whatever? What was the line? I'm not a threat or something.
You're not the right guy to
beat Bronson Reed. He's like something like that, and I was just like, this is making me want the Miz to be back to being the Miz. Because I
think that's what this is leading to.
Yeah. Because when I was watching it, I was just thinking to myself, here's a guy that does everything they ask him to do. He's never complained about anything, I'm sure. He's just there. He does a great job. But like we've always talked about, Miz is a babyface. But Miz is a heel. It's just like he's just that much better at it. You know, some people are just destined to be great at one thing, and that's okay.
Or aren't they teasing him with Cross?
So that's true. There you go. Yeah.
Cross is going to turn him back to where he belongs, man. Shout out Karrion Kross.
Stop it. Just stop it. I guarantee there's going to be a giant, long Guthrie tweet attached to the share of this week's episode.
I like the Final Testament. I could do without Paul.
There it is. There it is.
You see these videos he just posts where he's in like war paint in his backyard, just fucking like doing promos. I'm like, this motherfucker. What?
Go play with your grandkids. Jesus Christ.
He does, Adam. We don't know how he is as a grandfather. I'm just saying, I love ALP. I love Scarlett, and Cross does his job. He's a great jobber, and I love him for it.
Moving on, we have Natty versus Zoe in a big meh. And then here's my thought, right? So last week, 3 women who have never tagged before beat Pure Coals and Collective Frenzy, whatever the fuck they're called. Then this week, Zoe, who, you know, is a sniper for the most part with that missile drop.
Hell in every match.
Oh my God. It's just like, how do I keep this from the PCF or whatever the fuck they're called? I'm having
EFC. No, not me.
I'm having alphabet soup. It's like every time I watch them, I'm like, how much of a credible threat could you possibly be if you're supposed to be badasses and these 3 women who just fucking come together, have never had a clue how to fucking tag together, beat you. Then next week, you know, Natty does this fucking sharpshooter stuff that she does, and it's whatever. It's just, I was just sitting here going, this is so bad. This is not good in terms of any character development whatsoever. It was thrown together. Nobody cared.
They literally built up Pure Fusion as like an unbeatable team, and then literally the last 2
Banana
weeks,
Peel.
like, they've looked so weak. So
Banana Peel.
I'm waiting for Natty to turn and join them because she fits in perfectly with them, and like that will be a cool thing. But then once it happens, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm over it.
Right.
I don't actually want to see this, but that's what it feels like it's doing because those are all Natty's friends.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just
Shayna and Sonya are like former tag partners of Natty. Zoe's a future tag partner of Natty, so it makes sense.
Yeah, that's originally my Natty sound. I remember one time, legit, I went to a house show and she made that sound when she was putting up her hands, and I just looked over. I looked at my friends and I was like, I used to do that sound anyway, so they were like, oh, it just sounds like Adam screaming for some reason. And so the joke was every time Natty was on the screen, it was just because that's what it sounds like to me. It's just, who makes that sound? Nobody except me and Natty. So, you know, it must be a thing. But no, it bothers me. Something that's going to really bring my piss to a boil too, by the way, which I thought was really fucking stupid. The Sami Zayn Gunther stuff with Ludwig is so not necessary. Like,
what do you mean by that?
I'm watching it and I'm just like, of course Sami Zayn is gonna fucking challenge for the title. Like, we're just sitting here and I'm just looking at it from a perspective of like, in my opinion, they could come up with a better storyline. But the fact that they're like calling him a coward and he's saying the answer's still no and shit, I don't know. It just bothers me when I'm watching it because I feel like I can't be immersed in it and I want to be because the match is going to be good. And Gunther's been doing a very good job being like, whatever. But then, like, I get it. It's like Ludwig's there, so fucking Sammy can beat him. And then somehow he gets the fucking bad blood and we're there. And I just feel like instead of it being a really good segment that I could chew my teeth into, that doesn't make any sense. I can chew myself into. I don't know. I can't talk. Anyway, sink my teeth into. There we go. Wow. Hosting's hard. Anyway, so as that was happening, I was thinking to myself, you can't do better than this. This is the best you have. And here's the other thing too. It felt slighted in terms of it wasn't the most important thing on the show and he's the champion. And I'm like, that is a dead giveaway to me that you knew this wasn't good stuff. You just kind of fluffed it somewhere in the middle.
I think it has to do with the challenger because it's just like, if this was Gunther and Priest, then this would be the fucking centerpiece. But it's just like, they have to do the Sammy thing because Gunther's run so far has been writing all his runs and Sammy's the biggest run he has. But it's just like, yeah, I don't disagree because it's not super compelling to have Gunther just say no because you're making him look cowardly, especially because like he's the one who beat you, Gunther. Like you should want to take him out. But yeah, I thought it was a little unnecessary this week because they already did it once. I felt like they just beat a dead horse. But I'm assuming next week, like you said, he'll beat Ludwig and he'll coerce Gunther into the match. But I don't know. I didn't bring it up in the shine for a reason because it feels like they're just like spinning the wheel, not really going anywhere.
I just don't think it's helpful because Gunther is, in my opinion, he's the one that is going to set this title into at least the conversation that it's not technically a consolation anymore. I'm not going to say it's anywhere close to the WWE Championship.
No, but I think he already has. I mean,
I'm just saying, like, you have to continue the momentum in which he can bring, and I think shitty storylines like this make it harder for me to look at it and go like, I know the matches are going to be good, but when I'm looking at an overall reign, I'm not necessarily always.
This will be a blip on the overall reign. Short term, yeah, it doesn't look good, but we're going to look back and we're like, oh yeah, he beat Sami Zayn after, it's just, it'll be one of those things because this is probably going to be a long reign. It'll be a notch in the belt because at some point we're going to get back to him and Priest, which I think will be really good when Priest gets a more fair shot. I don't know. I don't think that's any super close, but it's just like, I'll probably do Seth at some point. He's probably, I would think Punk's going to be next, especially if Punk wins. They kind of tease it, but I think like Punk or Drew, whoever wins that is probably next for Gunther. That'll be a really good feud, I think. So Sammy, I think, is just like you mentioned the word bridge earlier. I think he's just the bridge feud, and it's just like the Randy Orton was like a quick one. We were really into that, but it was just like we see it a lot of time. Like when I think back and like they can be really good because like Cena had a lot of the bridge feuds when he was champ. Like remember the R-Truth and Mark Henry? Like those were technically bridge feuds, but they were so memorable because those two guys like captured their moments. It's just with Sammy, it's just like we already believe with Sammy, but it's just like we don't believe he can beat Gunther for the World Heavyweight title. I mean, we didn't even believe he beat him for the IC title. I still like look at that. I'm just like, but I think they just got to do this one, move on. Gunther will be fine. Sammy will be fine, especially if he goes and does what we think he's going to do. But it's just like, this wasn't good TV this week.
All right. I think that's pretty much it, unless there's something else you'd like to bring up.
Glorious. You're my only hope. Nestlemania, I mentioned the Intercontinental Championship. That fucking fraud Jey Uso ain't beating Braun Breaker, but someone has to eventually. And the fella on Pat McAfee's show, was announced to having signed an extension in WWE. He brought up in his promo talking about how Butch cost him a chance at the one thing he's never done in WWE. That's the IC title. I know Braun and Sheamus have fought before, but who would be against watching that shit again, man, and making a high-level feud of it? I think the Sheamus chase for the IC title is very compelling television. He's a guy we all like to get behind anyways. I think it's a great way to rally it, especially like when Braun's ready to lose, whether it's before Mania or at Mania. I think this would be a great Mania feud for Braun and Sheamus and have Sheamus' moment happen at Mania. But that's my hope, is that Sheamus will be the man to dethrone Braun, and then Braun can move on to the main event, and Sheamus will finally check that one box he's been trying to check for years because he deserves it. Fella! Hashtag JC knows. Hashtag JC's hopes come true. Sheamus, the man to be Braun for the IC title.
So my hope is very, very quick. As I was watching Monday Night Raw, I almost fast forwarded because I didn't know it was a thing, and I went back and watched it. And this American-made promo, fucking A. Like, not only did I love it, but the ideas that spun from it in my head were just like super, just like fireworks. Like, holy shit, what can't you do with this, people? The one thing that really stood out to me, they don't necessarily need this mouthpiece, but if Kurt Angle decided to come back and be part of this faction and just drive the fucking tank, or like just do the fucking serious Kurt Angle, not fucking haha Kurt Angle.
Can't he be serious anymore though?
I don't know, but like I think
he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
But like all I kept thinking about was, and I mean, maybe you can in a certain spot, but all I kept thinking about was, there's a guy that, I mean, Gable's doing a great job. I don't think they necessarily need it, but in my head, I was hoping for this. I was thinking, if Kurt Angle was able to be the mouthpiece, think about what Kurt Angle could do for the Creeds. Think about what Kurt Angle could do for Ivy Nile, right? If you had Kurt Angle managing Ivy Nile, you could potentially believe in a quick run as Ivy winning the women's championship. You could clearly
believe that in the future, not now.
You could clearly see the Creeds winning tag gold. That's easy. And here's the kicker for me. Chad Gable finally gets that IC title, that United States title, whatever. He gets that mid-card championships that has been alluded to him. When he finally gets like Kurt Angle lighting a fire under his fucking ass, like I would love to see Kurt Angle in that role, just coaching people, just coaching them up. I think it'd be great, because then you can call back the whole like Cena thing. You can have some Punk interactions. But you bringing Kurt Angle in legitimizes even more the legitimate athletes those four people are. And it brings them up to another level. And I look at it like there's a pecking order of factions. I don't believe American Made will ever get to a certain order in there, like above 2 or 3. I think if you get the Kurt Angle, you could believe that they could be a top tier faction. So that's what I'm hoping for. I want them to succeed in the worst way possible. And I'm not a fan of they're not my guys, but I enjoy what they do in the ring and I enjoy them as an entertainment. I think Kurt Angle could really help them. So that's my hope.
He could definitely help them. I would be more pro like a segment, or maybe if they do like a couple segments of him like doing stuff with them, because oh shit, he's dead. I just worry about Kurt Angle long term. It's just like you said, because we especially like as a GM and stuff, like he's just so fucking goofy, especially now that he's old. He doesn't have his fastball. So especially if they're heels, I worry about that a little bit. But him doing some segments with them, I'd definitely be all for, because I think it would be a cool interaction.
Brutus is kind of goofy anyway.
That's what I mean. So you don't want double goof in a heel group. You know what I mean? It's just like the Judgment Day has Carlito and it's perfect, but it's like, I don't, and it's just everyone else is like, not to say they're more serious, but like, it's like, he's the comedy, and Brutus will be their comedy guy. It's just an Angle, I think, unfortunately, will just kind of suck away from what they need to be. So, okay, that's fine. Just poo-poo my hope then. Thanks. No, like I said, I think segment, like one segment, or if they do like a series, like you said, like training segments or something, like vignettes, that would be cool. But I just worry about him like in the arena with them every week is where my concern would lie.
Okay. All right. Shall we get our comeback on?
Don't call it a comeback, Nestlemania. I'm going to Smackdown on USA, and I'm going more specifically to the intro, because Nestlemania, super hot fire. Meg the Stallion, hot girl Meg, is the voice of the Smackdown intro. A lot of fucking virgins on Twitter got their panties in a bunch. The fucking gatekeeper part of Twitter, which is just the biggest losers in the world. But I love this. I'm watching this, and when it happened, I didn't expect it. It was the last thing I expected to hear, and it made me love it. And you know what also gave me the reason why I'm giving this my comeback is because there's rumors that Def Rebel contract's coming up. And there's rumors that we might hear more popular music associated with superstars. And I think this is a nice bridge that you get artists more involved in these type of things. You get a big name like Meg the Stallion. You put her on the intro because you can do that. But I think what this can lead to in the future is so exciting. But I know people want to hear you talk about Meg Thee Stallion as the intro, so I'll give you the floor.
I honestly, it was funny because you guys were like, foregone conclusion, like, oh, Nestle's gonna hate this. I actually don't hate Meg Thee Stallion at all. Actually, like I said before we went on, I was just like, the song to me is just, it's almost irrelevant now. Like I used to get excited about the theme song, and like in terms of like when I was a kid and you hear like, dun, 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 like those were iconic songs. I mean,
baby.
All I'm saying is Meg Thee Stallion's great, but I'm just like, it's a song. That's all it is to me, is a song. So like it's fine. And like when I saw the presentation of it, I was like, that's cool. It's pretty cool. And like again, like I mean, she has some hits, obviously, so it's she's a stud. But like all I kept thinking about was
a stallion, bro.
She's a stallion. But no, all I kept thinking about was I'm glad they picked her, because like I was thinking about like the other people in that genre that they could have picked, and I was like, I don't know if any of their songs would work, but her songs kind of work. So I was like, it's not bad. But I'd be curious, do you think Meg Thee Stallion would actually wrestle? Like a WrestleMania match, maybe?
If they did a celebrity thing, I think she'd be more apt to be involved in something. Kind of like what they've been doing with Sexy Red and NXT, which I don't know if you saw the big news, October 8th, Sexy Red returning to NXT, baby. That's for Big Wayne, because he's a big fan of Sexy Red. But yeah, no, I think that I could see her doing stuff like that. I think you're going to see, we've already seen it, more celebrities being involved. Like that's just the WWE is more of a reach now, and the partnership with TKO, and it's becoming more of a destination for these types of stars because it's cool and it's more mainstream now, but also it's just like, it's great for them to reach a different audience. So it just, I don't know in terms of wrestling, like maybe, I mean, I think she definitely could. She's athletic enough. She's got the look enough, but I think it would be more likely she'd be involved, whether it's they do the performance or she's a host or something like that. I definitely think that's a real possibility going forward now.
Well, it only helps. That's the way I was looking at it. It only
don't
helps.
Hurt, baby.
It's just funny to me when you see like somebody that has like, she's just cool and hip and whatever, and then like there's like Cody in there, and I'm just like, this doesn't fit. Like Roman Reigns,
Cody's the most unhip person in the
like
world.
Cody's like the most, like besides me, probably and Joe Stopper, the whitest kids Cody Rhodes is right up there next to us. Like he'll probably be a self-admitted like not a hip dude.
He's very not hip, and he knows it.
Yeah,
it's part of his charm.
No, I know. It's funny to me because when I was watching it, I'm like, how many people like could benefit from it versus like it'd just be awkward, but it is what it is. It's fine. My comeback, I'm giving it to guess who? Ricky, not Ricky Starks, but Jobber Ricky from Midnight Heat. I was so excited when I was like, hey, a real jobber, a real live jobber in the fucking wild. KO did the whole thing. He got excited, and then he found out Randy was available and then stunned his ass.
Stunned him.
Right away.
Call type move.
Like I loved it. And then they had a backstage segment with them, be like, you want to go back to my bus? I'm sorry for all the shit we did to you and whatever. And it was like, I called Booker T. He got mad that I said something bad about Texas, and RVD said he was already on another planet. So all I had to do was pick Ricky. And I was just like, I love when they do shit like this. It doesn't happen all the fucking time. But what a great thing for somebody like that, when they work hard on the independents for so long and they're just an extra and they're like, you look goofy enough to get stunned. Yeah, what the hell? Like, between that and the guy getting flung around by Bronson Reed, I think it was a great week for fucking, these people who don't get chances to get chances. So now he's seeing Ricky versus Tongaloa, graphics for, WrestleMania, get him in the Hall of Fame, like all these memes coming out. And I was just like, this is the shit that I love. This is when the internet fucking wins every time. So when I saw that, I was just so excited. And I think we need more of this stuff. Not every week, but a reminder every couple months.
And this was a perfect spot. Like anytime you do a surprise return, you do a bait and switch. It's just like, it's so perfect.
Bernsky said that guy looked like a flyweight version of Lars Sullivan. He did. You know what it was? It was the fucking chest hair. Like it went, and then like the back hair.
Yep.
It was just like, like it looked like a cat fur ball, like all over him. And it was just disgusting. Just fucking disgusting. But yeah. Bite-sized Larth bar. We haven't done a Larth bar in a long time. Larth bar. It was so great. Yeah. But just, I love shit like that. Like you can make heels easily with that. So man, good stuff. Anyway, we should get to the big ol' finish, JC.
Big ol' finish, Nestlemania. On Smackdown this week, we have Bayley and Naomi versus Jackson Tiffy. If Bayley or Naomi win, then I think they either fight for a championship shot or something like that. But if they lose, whoever gets pinned, banished from SmackDown forever. So could be a loser leave town. Then we have the United States champion match. Andrade, the number 1 contender, will take on L.A. Knight. Yeah.
I don't care about anything you just said. I'll be honest.
You don't care about LA Knight Andrade?
No.
You're a dumbass.
Nope. Here's the thing. Andrade will
when
be good.
Andrade wrestles, I put my feet up and I watch, baby, because it is good. And Carmelo's probably going to get involved because they got 2 more matches to do, bro.
Okay. That's totally fine. But I look at it, I'm just like, what else you got? You know, like in my head, what else you got? But
you're
whatever.
Just a hater. But that's okay. We go to Raw. We got an IC title match between Braun and the fucking mid-event Jey Uso loser. We got Ludwig Kaiser versus Sami Zayn, Boehner. And Drew McIntyre returns.
Well, Drew will have something to say, I'm sure. But I don't know. I feel like we're in a maintenance mode with these two. So I just...
Oh, yeah, no, it's sold and ready to go. So I think that's why it was kind of smart to keep Drew away this week, just to kind of like let it breathe. I think CM Punk kicked off NXT tonight, so I'm sure he said something there. But yeah, should we talk about AEW Nestlemania? I am wearing my FTR Revival shirt because I did watch. Joe, you'll be proud of me. I watched the main event of Collision. This is the first piece of Collision I've watched in months. I skipped the whole show until the main event, but I had to watch my boys think on my boys, the FTR versus the GYV.
I'm sure it was a good tag match, but it probably had no implications whatsoever.
It was a very good tag match. I mean, I think it's one of those things like they're 2 of the top teams, so I don't know.
Oh,
they did a thing. FTR did a thing with whoever those dudes are that people love. They did like the handshake thing, and people were all excited about that.
Yeah. Who cares? I don't know. There's so much going on in AEW that I just don't care about, and I'm
trying to pull up the Wednesday card, but I can't.
I'm trying to as well.
I found it.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Because I was trying to find it.
Nope, I lied.
I found well, we have a couple of things here. We have your boy Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, and Takeshita against the Young Bucks, and this is the part that drives me. Okada. I should be excited about this match, but I'm not excited about this match.
It's a 6-man tag, bro, that has no fucking It'll probably be fun.
More Orange Cassidy Jericho nonsense. We're not discussing that.
Nope, I do not mention that.
I just can't. We have more of the BCC, which again, do I give a shit? I don't know. To me, this is how you know the women's division.
We should have Joe just in the comments, like give us the card because he probably knows it. Because I saw he said we have Mariah versus Yuka. Sakazaki.
No, it got changed. It's Mariah and Serena Deep versus Queen and Yuka.
I just fell asleep.
Right? Like that makes me know that the division is in trouble, in my opinion. That's just me. That's just one Mark's opinion. But do I care about any of this? There's no reason for me to care. And here's the biggest thing. Like, this is the part that like absolutely bothers me, right? Like, so they're trying to hype up Grand Slam in a couple weeks. I think let me make sure I have the right date. It is Grand Slam. Hold on 1 second. Sorry for this great television. Grand Slam is happening in New York in like 2 weeks, right? Less than 2 weeks. My thought was, what the fuck are we doing? Like, it's not this week, it's next week. Here's what I'll say. It's Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson. This should be on a pay-per-view. They're not giving it enough build and enough time. I hope to Christ it doesn't happen at in New York for Grand Slam. I hope.
Wasn't Bryan supposed to be out? Like that was out of the storyline, and then Nigel's calling him a coward. So do you think he's going to come back for it?
I don't know. All I keep thinking is, this is how I know that it's bizarre to me, because we know Nigel's not winning the fucking world title.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And then here's the other thing. Moxley and the bag thing has to be addressed. So instead of just keeping it a linear thing, it's just all over the place, which maybe they'll do. They just need to tease it out. Like, they need to figure out what the fuck they're doing, because in theory, you can have multiple claims to people going for the championship. That's fine. But I feel like they're giving us something that should be on a pay-per-view. Like, to me, if I watch Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson, that does actually pique my interest to maybe fork over some money. But giving it to me on free TV, I don't know, man. I think that's a bad decision. And the Moxley thing makes it seem like Moxley is going to be the one to maybe get rid of, Bryan Danielson.
It's just weird because the timing of all this to me is so weird, because Look at the Brian Nigel thing. Like it doesn't do as much for me as everyone else. I get why people love it, and I respect that, and I understand it. For me, I just personally don't give a shit. But it's like, I also like. I'm looking at this. I'm like, I feel like part of the reason why it's cheapened for me is because I don't think it needs the title. Like, it just feels like it's one of those things. It's like, I would have liked to see this like leading up into Brian's like final run here as champion. Like if Nigel came back like before and like Brian like getting past Nigel, then he kind of challenged for the title and won it. Because to me, it just feels out of place. Because like you said, like there's no belief like that he's going to win the title, and it's just jammed in the middle of this Moxley thing, so it cheapens it. So again, it just comes down to like I wish this was planned out better because I think it would be cooler. But like the fact that it's for the title, it like makes it worse for me, if that makes any sense. It makes me less interested because it's just like But if it was a standalone thing and the championship was doing something else, I'd probably be more interested. But I don't know. It's just a long list of things in AEW right now that just aren't grabbing me, sadly. I'm just waiting for Christian to cash in. But I think we might be waiting a while because I don't think that Brian's done anytime soon. So
You know what it feels like to me? And maybe this is not true, but this is at least my feeling when I'm watching AEW television. It feels like Brian has so many, matches in the window left that they're just fucking throwing them in with no explanation and be like, fucking go. Everybody will love it. Doesn't matter. And it's just think, space it out. It's okay. Like, I get it, but like, he'll be back. He may not wrestle a lot, but he'll come back. Trust me, he'll come back. They all fucking come
back. That's what I mean. And that's why to me, it's just like this Nigel thing. Like, I see Joe said like he doesn't want the title. That's fine, but it's like Brian's the champion right now. So like the champion should be focused on defending the title, and people going after him should. So that's what kind of like my point is, like this Nigel thing should happen before or after. I know what I would have done. Is I know Brian said when he loses the title, he'd be done. So that's what you do. He loses the title. He says he's done. That's when you hit Nigel's music and he pulls Brian out for one more match. And that's how you booked it. You make his final match against Nigel after he lost the title because he pulled him out of like his thing for it. It will get a big pop from the fans because they're expecting Brian to be done, and then they're given this gift. But it just like you said, just jam it in the middle here. It cheapens it. But it's like, to me, it's like this would feel way more special if it was before or after this title reign. I just think the title murks everything up with Brian because he should be facing the elite of the elite and defending because it is the main title on your brand. So it just, but again, it goes back to like, this is what AEW does. And that's why it's hard for me, like the past year or two, to be fully invested in this. Like they have so many guys that I love and I will watch them every week because I love them. But man, it is tough for me to get a lot of the ancillary stuff and the other stuff and the guys that, I really like, but maybe aren't like true JC guys.
You know who might? You know what? I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to curse them.
Oh,
I'm really enjoying the Outrunners.
That's who I couldn't think of their name. Those are the ones who did the thing with FTR after the match.
I feel like they are the Acclaimed from like 3 years ago. Like they're homegrown.
I'll have to check them out more, but have they even been on Dynamite? That's probably why I haven't seen them.
They were in the Gauntlet and they didn't win, and I was like that was
but
my thing.
Like I need segments from them on Dynamite.
Right. And here's my thing. You know how like the Acclaim kind of started from nothing, and then like I think we're gonna get there in like 6 months. Like you come back to me in 6 months, and I think the Outrunners become tag champs. I don't know why. Oh. It's just a feeling I get.
They didn't look like much to me, but again,
no, but like
what they are. The only time I saw them was on Saturday.
If Joe, fuck those jabronis. That's how I know you. That's how I know that you don't know what you're talking about. That's how I know. The Outrunners.
I respect Joe's opinion.
The Outrunners are fabulous. They are. I don't give a shit what you say. The crowd loves them. That's all that matters.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I'm like, who are these guys? Because they're clearly beloved. But then I'm looking at them. I'm just like, they look like two Rickies.
But here's the thing.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. But like,
to be mean, I'm just saying this. They look like. But again, that's how FTR started. They look like two dudes, and now look at them. They're like my favorite tag team.
All I'm saying is, even if it was a quick run, I just like all I could think about was, do we really need Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay against the Young Bucks? Probably, because it'll be fine and dandy. But come on.
I mean, it'll be a fun match. It's one of those, but it's just like, again, it was a very WWE move of AEW to take two guys. And again, yes, they have history and they were in a group together, but it's like, Ospreay has a singles title. I think Fletcher, doesn't he have a Ring of Honor singles title?
I
he
forget.
did. I don't know. I know he did. I don't know if he still does, but it's just like, and again, we come back to it. AEW, you say you're tag team wrestling, but it's like, besides the Young Bucks and the Acclaimed, like you really haven't had a lot. That's why I was excited for FTR and GYV. I'm like, yes, some things, because they're losing Penta and Phoenix, but it's like GYV can slide in. It's like, you have the horses, but it's just like you're not willing to make them matter. You're just, because part of the Young Bucks gimmick is not defending the titles, but it's like it's hurting the whole division because we're not seeing the whole division. That's why I don't know who the fuck the Outrunners are, because they're probably on Collision and Rampage, the two shows that I stopped watching. Because besides that card, I remember saying in the chat, because like you guys told me about FTR GIV, is excited. And I looked at the rest of the card and I'm like, the rest of this card is a heaping pile of dog shit. There is nothing interesting on it. So that's why I don't watch those shows anymore.
All I'll say this is there's a hint of absolute savage every time I watch the Outrunners promos, and it just cracks me up. That's all. That's all I say. I'm just saying.
I will make sure if they're not on Dynamite.
I will.
Dom,
and
look,
look,
on Collision and Rampage, you got to tell me, and I'll watch.
Dom says they pop off the screen, and here's the thing: the fact that Joe hates them.
If Dom loves them,
the fact that this is totally old school, and the fact that Joe hates them makes me want to go all in. Like that. Like that's it. Like they're not going to be. I'm not going to give them a full no. I'm not. I'm not going to endorse them. I'm just saying. I can see them winning the titles in 6 months. Give them 6 months on Dynamite, and I think they could do it.
Interesting. Okay.
I just think they tripped over this one. Like they didn't know what they had, and now they're catching fire, in my opinion.
That's kind of how the Acclaimed was too. It's like they didn't know what they had, and they just like they took on a life of their own. So maybe these guys can do the same.
I will send you some promos that I think you might.
I will check them out. And
Joe said, "You realize you're cursing them, right?" Listen. Maybe I just did. But you know what?
This is the most productive AEW conversation we've had in months.
Listen.
Maybe you just took some new blood.
Right. And that's what, if you're looking for a reason to hope for something, to invest in something, I'm not
sitting behind that. I'll give him a chance.
Here's my thing. Like I said, not my kind of guys, but I can see the entertainment value and go, that's what's missing from Dynamite's program. These guys.
Okay.
So that's all I got to say about that. Anything else? You want to get the fuck out of here?
Let's get the fuck out of here. I've had enough.
All right. On that note, thank you for watching and listening to the Jobber Knocker podcast. We'll be back next week with some more Jobber Knockery.